If you have ever promised yourself that you would change only to eventually return to the same behavior, this video will help you understand why. Today, I'm going to teach you 3 things. First, why wanting to change is not enough. Second, why your mind and body may resist the change that you say you want. And third, how to recognize that resistance and begin redirecting yourself toward the person you want to become. Falling back into an old pattern does not always mean that you are incapable of changing, but it does mean that something within you has been stronger than your promise. You may believe that once you finally decide to change, you will. But if making a decision were enough, why have you promised yourself you would never do something again only to eventually repeat it? Why did you lie again after promising to be honest? Why did you shut down after promising to communicate? Why did you seek that attention again after promising yourself that you were done? Why did you become defensive again when you told yourself you would listen? Now, you may have meant every word of your promise, and you may have changed temporarily, but wanting to change and being trained to change are 2 completely different things. To understand why, you need to understand homeostasis. Homeostasis is the body and the mind's natural tendency to maintain a familiar internal state. Your mind wants to return back to what it knows. That does not necessarily mean returning to what is healthy. It means returning to what is familiar. Your old behavior may have been destructive, but it also may have helped you escape pressure, avoid shame, feel wanted, maintain control, or temporarily feel better about yourself. Over time, that pattern became your emotional homeostasis. It became your normal. So when you begin behaving differently, part of you may resist. Honesty may feel more threatening than hiding. Vulnerability may feel more dangerous than shutting down. Remaining present may feel more uncomfortable than walking away. Patience may feel harder than becoming defensive. Consistency may feel exhausting because inconsistency is what your mind and body have practiced. This is why change can feel even wrong when it's right. Your nervous system can mistake familiarity for safety or unfamiliarity for danger. That resistance does not automatically mean change isn't working. It may mean that a new identity is being trained. Real change is trained, not promised. The second thing you need to understand is that your old identity will often try to protect itself. It will not always say, go back to your destructive behavior. It will sound far more reasonable than that. It may tell you, this conversation isn't going anywhere. They should be over this by now. I've already explained myself. Or, one small lie won't matter. I'll deal with it later, or this is just the way that I am. However, know that these thoughts give you permission to return back to what is familiar. Now, let's use defensiveness for an example. You decide that you are going to become more understanding, but then your spouse asks you a difficult question. You feel accused, ashamed, or misunderstood. Pressure begins building inside of you. Your automatic response is to defend yourself, correct their words, change the subject, or leave the conversation. The moment you feel that pressure is the moment homeostasis is trying to pull you back towards your practiced response. The new response may be to remain present, listen, and try to understand, but because that response is unfamiliar, it may initially feel unnatural. This does not mean it is fake. It means that it has not become a part of your practice enough to become natural. Think about someone learning to drive. At first, they have to consciously think about the mirrors, the steering wheel, the pedals, the speed, and everything that happens around them. But with enough repetitions, those actions become automatic. Emotional change works in a similar way. At first, you have to consciously recognize your patterns and choose a different response. But eventually, the new response becomes more natural. Honesty becomes more natural. Communication becomes more natural. Vulnerability becomes more natural. Emotional control becomes more natural. You see, you are creating a new emotional homeostasis. The third thing you need to understand is that your identity is being trained by what you repeatedly do, not simply by what you say you want. You may say that you want to become trustworthy, but are your daily choices training trustworthiness? You may say that you want to become emotionally available, but are you practicing openness when the conversation becomes uncomfortable? You may say that you want to become a better spouse, but what version of you takes control when you feel pressure? Everything you repeatedly do strengthens something. You are either strengthening the person you have been or the person you are becoming. That does not mean you must change everything about yourself overnight, but it does mean You must become aware of those moments when your old identity tries to regain control. Instead of judging yourself, pause long enough to recognize what is happening. The discomfort is not necessarily telling you to stop. It may be giving you an opportunity to train a different response. Now, here's the question I want you to begin asking yourself. Is what I'm about to do strengthening the person I've been or training the person I've decided to become? Ask yourself that question when you want to lie. Ask it when you want to shut down. Ask it when you feel defensive. Ask it when you want to avoid accountability or responsibility. Ask it when the old behavior feels easier than the new one. The single question creates a pause between your pattern and your response. And inside that pause, you have a choice. So remember the 3 things that we covered for today. Wanting to change is not the same as being trained to change. Your mind and body may resist unhealthy change because the old pattern feels familiar. Every time you consciously choose a healthier response, you are training a new identity. Change will not always feel natural in the beginning, but neither did the old pattern when you first began repeating it. What you practice becomes familiar. What becomes familiar becomes easier. And what you consistently repeat eventually becomes a part of who you are. Your past patterns may explain your emotional homeostasis, but they do not have to determine who you become next. Real change is trained, not promised.